I could go to the grocery store right now and I could buy up all of the apples that are on the shelf. Like take them all home, hundreds of apples, and just offload them onto my kitchen floor because they wouldn't fit inside the refrigerator. Just offload them onto my kitchen floor, and I will be able to say that I have an abundance of apples. But the truth of the matter is, I only wanted to eat one. I often speak to you about being the total package. Now, you may recall that being the total package is all about working on five aspects of your life: being your health, constructive relationships, wealth, knowledge, and purpose. Now, to be the total package doesn't mean that you have to be perfect in all of those aspects. It doesn't mean that you have to have everything figured out. You simply need to be working on improving in all five of those aspects of your life. Okay? That's what makes you the total package, is the pursuit. Now, with that said, out of all five of those aspects, the one that I speak to you the least about is wealth. And I decided that this week I needed to maybe shift the attention to wealth a bit because it is a bit underrepresented. I tend to talk about obviously health. I talk about purpose a lot. I talk about knowledge, and you hear me talk about relationships from time to time. But wealth, I don't speak that much about. So today we're going to talk a little bit about wealth, but we're going to talk specifically about abundance and what the nature of abundance is to me. Because I think that if you understand what the nature of abundance is, in my mind, it may help you to develop a healthy conception of what abundance can look like in your life. Okay. So let me introduce myself as always. I am Mark Johnson, the founder of BouncePad, bringing you ideas for a fit and flourishing future. I'm also the youngest son of Bill Johnson, and I am so happy to have you here. I want you to listen to everything this whole way through and leave your questions and comments because I absolutely love to hear back from you. Now, let me jump right in. So, we're going to be talking about abundance here. And I want to start out by saying this. If you're watching this medium called YouTube, you probably have seen other people talking about this idea of abundance. And a lot of times it's people who are trying to sell you some way to make $1 million in 6 months. People selling that kind of prosperity gospel, so to speak. And that's fine. They do their thing. But the going back to this issue of abundance, what I find is that a lot of people conceive of abundance as kind of like just having more than you need. There's this real emphasis on quantity, on just having so much, right? And I think that we have to be careful about that concept of abundance because you see this all the time. Have you ever seen like the really rich guys and they take you to their garage and they've got like 10, 20, 30 supercars and they can only drive one car a day or one or two, maybe two, but they can only drive one car a day, but they've got a garage with 20 cars in it. And they're paying taxes on these cars, they're paying insurance on these cars. Now, obviously, these are rich people. And so for them, maybe it feels like a drop in the bucket. But the bottom line is it's a money pit, right? So we all recognize the money. It's a money pit. You can only drive one car at a time. For the most part, the other 19 are just sitting in the garage, just sitting there, okay, and costing you money. So it's a money pit, right? But this is how a lot of people conceive of abundance, is just having way, way more than they need, way, way more than they can use. Just just having it is somehow filling, I don't know what it's doing, but I think a lot of times people have kind of a hole or a void that they're trying to fill up with stuff. And especially if you get, a rich woman or a rich man got a little bit more money than they know what to do with, they can end up collecting a lot of expensive toys to try to fill whatever that void is, right? So that is one conception of abundance. Like I said, if that's you, and if you just got money to burn, and your prerogative, you can do that. Okay, but I have a different conception of abundance, one that I think is a bit healthier. So for me, abundance is not about sheer quantity. When I think about abundance, what I think about is just ready accessibility to what I want or what I need at pretty much any time. That's what abundance is to me. Because if we think about this, let's say I want an apple. Now, I could go to the grocery store right now and I could buy up all of the apples that are on the shelf. Like take them all home, hundreds of apples, and just offload them onto my kitchen floor because they wouldn't fit inside the refrigerator. Just offload them onto my kitchen floor, and I will be able to say that I have an abundance of apples. But the truth of the matter is, I only wanted to eat one. So, what was the purpose of me going to the supermarket and buying every apple off the shelf when all I wanted was one? That was what I want. That one apple was what would satisfy me. So there's no reason to buy the entire shelf full of apples, right? So my conception of abundance is more of ready accessibility. Okay. I think this is much healthier because it does something, it has kind of a side effect. And you remember a few weeks ago, I talked about the idea of cutting fat and how cutting fat off your body is akin to reducing clutter in your life. In other words, just like when you lose weight and you're able to move more nimbly and just have generally a little bit more physical freedom, cutting things that you don't need, like material possessions, out of your life that are just cluttering your life, tends to free you up and free up your time and open up new options and new opportunities. Okay. And I want you to have a healthy idea of abundance. Okay. So just because you have the financial wherewithal, you have the ability to go out and accumulate or buy a bunch of stuff, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the healthy thing to do, that's the smart thing to do, that it makes the most sense for you when you really think about it. Uh, you know, when you think about abundance, I want you to think about like, okay, what do I need right now? Can I get it right now if I need it? Okay. And if I can get it right now, if I have the money, I have the access, like I can, if I need it, I can get it. If I want it, I can get it. Okay. That's abundance. It's not about just getting overflowing amounts of stuff, because that's when you just accumulate stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff, you bog down your life. Remember, you create that clutter in your life. Okay, and you reduce your freedom of movement, your freedom of action. You actually reduce your choices because you're bogged down by so much stuff. So this is my concept of abundance, and I think this is really important to share with you, especially if you're not at the point where you have made a lot of money in your life yet. Maybe you're doing okay, but you don't have like the fancy car, you don't have like the dream home or anything. You aren't making $1 million a year yet or anything like that. You're doing okay, but you're not at that level, right? Okay. I want you to understand that you might get to that level one day, but it doesn't mean that you have to go crazy and just accumulate stuff and associate that with abundance. Okay. As you gain wealth, I want you to maybe think about the importance of experiences, more so than just the accumulation of a lot of stuff. Okay. Having special experiences is going to make you feel a lot more fulfilled. That's for sure. Than just collecting a bunch of stuff. And I can do a whole nother talk about the importance of having experiences. I really want to focus today on this idea of abundance. Okay. Um, I want you to think about what I'm telling you, and I want you to maybe apply this knowledge in your own life and see if it works for you. Take a look around at some of the aspirations. Maybe look at some of your aspirations and ask yourself, are these over the top in terms of like just wanting a lot of material stuff that I can't even use, right? Because as I say, over time, as you accumulate more and more stuff, you actually bog yourself down with stuff. Like it happens to people slowly but surely over time, right? So I want you to have a healthy concept of what abundance really is. I live pretty well. I drive a nice car. I live in a nice house. Which you don't see me. I don't take my camera and show you what kind of car I'm driving or show you all around. I know a lot of people that you see on YouTube are doing this. I guess because they're trying to uh, sell you or convince you that they're, as successful as they say they are. But that's just, I'm not going to do that. Just suffice to say that I like things. I like nice things. I live well, just like you like nice things. You want to live well. I mean, hey, I like nice things too, right? But I have what I believe to be a healthy concept of abundance. I don't need 10, 20 cars. I can only drive one at a time. You know, I don't need uh, I don't need to eat three steaks when I go out to a restaurant. One is enough. I can go back to the restaurant again another time. I don't need to have again 100 apples when all I really want is to eat one apple right now. Okay, so it's that idea. Abundance is the ready accessibility. Okay, it's the ready accessibility to what you want and what you need. It's not excessive quantities of things. So I want you to take this with you. I want you to think about what I'm talking to you about. All right. Give it some thought, apply it in your life, and remember, seek out experiences. Okay. If you got some little bit of wealth, you got a little money that you can do something with, seek out experiences. Um, that's going to fulfill you a lot more than just buying 5 cars or buying 2 more homes. Believe me, it will. So that's my message for you today. I want you to take this with you. Talk to you next time.